So the good news on contracts, Tony Ralston, new deal. Brendan, how keen were you to reward him for what he's done, and what have you made of what he's developed into as a player?
Yeah, I'm really happy for him because he not only is a very good player, he's a big Celtic supporter as well. So, having been here as a child and working his way through, I obviously seen the talent when I was here the first time. Played him in some big games. Then had a sort of few seasons where it didn't quite work out for him. But I think when got into the team when Ange came here, and I thought he did very, very well. And I think for me, it's really important to have players that have come through the system, because they know they've got the real feeling of the club there. And I'm absolutely delighted that he's decided to sign on.
A couple of weeks ago, you said discussions were ongoing with Rio Hatate about a deal as well. Has that progressed? Any closer to that one being over the line? I
haven't been made aware of that. I'll speak to Michael later, but I know that, in fairness to the club have been reaching out to the agent and that for quite some time. So, but where it's at, I don't know at this point.
Can we expect Scott Bain to start this weekend, given Joe's suspended?
Yeah, well, we'll look at it between Scott and Benji. Both of the guys work really hard every day, so we'll finalise the team tomorrow.
Have you started succession planning for what happens after Joe? Obviously, he's 36, contract's up, he's been pretty non-committal about what comes next. Is there a plan in place from the club's point of view, long-term, regarding number one?
No, not only Joe, it's throughout the squad. I think you always have to plan forward. But currently at this moment, Joe, I thought he was unfortunate in terms of getting sent off last weekend. I think what doesn't get highlighted, he made a great save for us at 0-0 before that. So, but listen, he's at the age he's at. He looks after himself so well, Joe. He's in a great physical shape, but naturally, in every position, you're always planning forward. So whether it's goalkeeper, centre half, centre forward, you always have to have an eye on the future.
Brendan, just in terms of the contracts for the club have tied a few players down recently to long-term contracts. What do you think that does? Does that give the players extra security? Does it give you as the manager extra security and extra ability almost to plan longer term?
Yeah, I think it obviously helps the player from a financial perspective, and hopefully stabilises them. But listen, you know as well as I do, in terms of the modern game, it can all change very quickly. But I think that if a player signs it, then obviously you're hoping and feeling he has that happiness to be here. He sees his future here. He sees his development here. And you sign on here for the club the size of Celtic, then it's a great opportunity for you, So I think it benefits both, and that's the idea of them signing the longer contracts.
In terms of Motherwell this weekend, what do you expect from them? They've been really impressive this calendar year, especially since the manager has come in. What do you think? What do you make of them? What do you think has been key to their success recently?
Well, I think they're obviously very, very well coached, first and foremost. I think that when I see them play, they play the shape very, very well. Defending 5-4-1 and morph into 3-4-3 when they have the ball. They'll all look very clear in terms of what it is they're doing. And they have a nice mixture in the game. They build the game short, but they can also build it long as well. And so I think Stuart's done very, very well there. He's obviously gone in and coached them very well. And like I say, going to Motherwell is always a tough game. I think in my experiences of going to there, it's a tough game. Always with a really good atmosphere. The pitch is normally fantastic, so it should be a very good football game. So we'll prepare for a tough game.
Sorry, Ron, just finally, did you see the game against Rangers on Sunday? What did you make of it?
Yeah, but I analyse all the games and all the opponents that we'll play, and we'll pick out the strengths and areas that we feel we can exploit.
How's your squad looking, Brendan? Anyone return
there? Well, we've got Obviously Cam, who's coming back in to rejoin the training group. So, but he's not going to be ready till after the international break, I would suspect. Nat Phillips, we're just keeping an eye on. He's come in and rejoined the group. We just have to make sure with his ankle. But that looks much better. So yeah, and then no one else really that has been out injured will be back.
Do you think that might be available for next week, midweek?
Yeah, well, hopefully for the weekend.
For the weekend as well.
Yeah.
Okay. You've said before that you're getting there to where you want the team to be. How far away do you think they are from where you want them to be?
It's not about being far away. It's the constant development of the team. You know, I prioritise quality football in terms of the work, and I think over the course of the summer and probably early parts of the season, transfer window and everything, there was probably that feeling of maybe a little bit of instability, and are players going to be here, are they not? New manager coming in, what is he asking us to do? But now I think the team have taken a big mental step forward, and I think you see that in how they're performing. You know, the determination, the intensity, the quality starting to move forward into the levels that I'd want it to get to. And that's always the beginning of a really good team. So I'm really happy with the progress that we're making day on day, but we have to keep working, and we have to keep working very hard. And like I said, my priority in my career, my body of work has always been about the quality of our football. And that's quality of football to win games. And we're starting to see that now.
Just on that, Brendan, sorry, how beneficial has this week on the training ground been? 'Cause it's quite rare for yourselves and a club like this to have a midweek off. So you made the most of it this week?
Yeah. The players are fantastic. Coaching staff here, brilliant. You know, John overseeing the coaching side along with the other coaches. You know, in terms of what I look for in the team and what I want, and the delivery of that and the preparation that goes into that. It's been fantastic. And of course, we'd rather have been playing last night. That's the reality. However, you have to look forward, and because we weren't, we were able to maximise our training. So yeah, it's given us a wee bit more time. And whilst we're in this early stages, then obviously we want to use that time efficiently.
In a way, is dealing with the red cards in the last couple of games, has that maybe kind of brought the players together? They having to come through adversity. Obviously, they did well in Rotterdam with 9 men, and obviously very well to manage the game last week. Does that maybe even just help to kind of focus things and make sure they have to work together, and we step forward that way as well?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before. I think that the team's traits has to be good organisation, togetherness, and personality. And I mentioned that before. We went down to 10 men and 9 men, and those are traits that you need in any good team. And I think the players have demonstrated that. The one thing I've always said is that we won't unravel mentally if we go down to 10 men. Why? Because the guys will understand what it is they have to do. So, and that's what they did, both in Feyenoord and against Livingston. Now, we don't want to make a habit of it, that's for sure. But I think that, with the greatest respect, the 3 sort of sendings off weren't sort of malicious. They weren't discipline issues. That was decisions that were made by referees. So we have to accept that, and then very quickly we have to have the plan in terms of what it is, what happens next. And I think when you have that, you've seen against Livingston the stability of the team. They stayed calm, stayed in control. And I mentioned it before, I'm not a coach. I like my teams to play aggressive and be fast and dynamic and create lots of opportunities. But I don't like the team to be flying with the seat of their pants. It needs to be in control and organised. So the players demonstrated that last week brilliantly. And yeah, we'll move on to our next game now and look to put in a good performance, hopefully, with 11 men.
Can I just take you back to what you said about Tony Ralston? It's important to have players that have the feel for the club, that know the club well. Is that important as well when you're bringing in a lot of players from elsewhere, that they've got these guys who can maybe pass that on to them as well, that guys to let them know what Celtic's all about? Yeah,
I think guys like Tony and Callum, obviously, as the skippers, outstanding at that role. I think any player comes in here has an idea of the history. I think they then go through an induction process where they understand everything about the club, and then they have that support whilst they're here. The players, they're great at helping them solve the problem, especially for the new players coming in. It's numbers of players coming into here, and the likes of Tony and that, they help them settle in, because it's not an easy transition. You come in to hear the intensity straight away. I know, speaking to a number of the new players, that's been a challenge for them. They come from a slower level of football, different climates, and then all of a sudden they're into a high tempo, high intensity game, and that's a challenge. But guys like Callum, Tony, James, Bainey, these guys are all guys that have been here, and certainly the guys that have been here for a long time. They make that transition a lot smoother.
We discovered this week that you and Mr. Duncan Ferguson are pals from times on Merseyside, perhaps. I wonder how that friendship came about and what you make of his decision to return to Scottish football after such a lengthy absence.
Yeah, listen, we connected when he was, like you say, at Everton, and then throughout my managerial jobs, I'm always open to help whatever manager, coach needs it. And obviously then when we sort of faced Everton whenever he was in temporary charge, and obviously we got chatting for a good bit around that time. And yeah, listen, we have communication. It's like most coaches and managers, you don't, every single day. But my phone was there for me if he ever wanted to reach out. So now I think it's great for him. He clearly wants to do well in management. Spent a long time in coaching, Duncan, and obviously going up to Inverness. It's a lovely part of the world, but I'm sure they want to do well in their football, and as will he. So yeah, we exchanged messages the other day.
Can I ask you a shamelessly Sky question? Will you be watching Europe in the Ryder Cup, and I just wonder what your expectations of it are, given you're a big golf fan these days?
Yeah, I'm a golf fan. I'm not very good at it, but no, listen, it's. I really enjoy seeing the players, because they play most of their lives as individuals, and I think the Ryder Cup has always been something that's special when you see them come together in that team format and you see what it means to them. So yeah, I'll watch as much of it as I can, and hopefully they can do what the women done and win, which would be great.
Brendan, just on Duncan Ferguson, he said he'd hope to maybe get a couple of players from you on loan. Can still do that. Do you see that as a possibility and perhaps beneficial for Celtic too?
Yeah, listen, but we'll always look at any options for players. First and foremost, it's the player. We have to feel that the loan away from here is going to be beneficial for them, because for some it's better to stay here and be close to the first team and work. But yeah, it's all on its own individual merit. You can't sort of throw the blanket over every player and say, yeah, it was good for me to go on loan. But it's then the case then of what the style of football that he goes to, because that's very important. We get some young guys that go to Queen's Park. Why? Because they'll get a great development in football on a brilliant surface, and they'll get educated how we would like them to. So it's all about education for young players. It's not just about sending them out on loan. There has to be a strategy behind it. And whether it's Duncan or whichever manager or whichever club, it has to be right for the player and for Celtic.